As you recall in our last lesson, we learned that all behavior is driven by the desire to solve a problem. The ultimate purpose of a habit is to solve the problems of life with as little energy and effort as possible. This effort-saving instinct is a huge advantage. An efficient brain allows us to stop thinking constantly about basic behaviors. Let me tell you a story. Doing a study at MIT in the early 1990s, rats were placed in a maze with a partition between them and a piece of chocolate. At first, the rat explored the maze, sniffing around, going left, going right, trying to make it to the chocolate. After several trials and error, it made it to the reward, the prize, which was the chocolate. An interesting thing happened though. The rat's brain activity changed as it moved through the same route hundreds of times. The rat stopped sniffing corners, taking wrong turns. Instead, they zipped through the maze faster and faster. Due to this, mental activity in the brain decreased. As the route became more and more automatic, the rat started thinking less and less. Do you know why? Because a habit is born. Remember, habits are formed to help us solve problems faster and faster. There are two frameworks that is behind every behavior we do. Charles Duhigg calls it the habit loop in his book, The Power of Habit, Why We Do What We Do in Life and in Business. This process within our brains is a three-step loop. First, there is a cue, a trigger that tells your brain to go into automatic mode and which habit to use. Then there is a routine, which can be physical, mental, or emotional. Finally, there is a reward, which helps your brain figure out if this particular loop is worth remembering for the future. Over time, this loop, cue, routine, reward, becomes more and more automatic. The cue and reward becomes intertwined until a powerful sense of anticipation and craving emerges. Eventually, a habit is born. Now, James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, added craving to the loop and called it the 4 stages of habits. Both authors did an outstanding job of outlining the science of habit formation. So this process from James is now a 4-step loop. First, there is a cue, a trigger that tells your brain to do something. It creates a craving, a desire, a motivation for you to take action. That act is known as the response. The routine is what you do to get the reward. The reward satisfies the craving and you are a happy camper. Here's an example. You hit a stumbling block on a project at work, the cue. You feel stuck and want to relieve your frustration, the craving. You pull out your phone and check social media. That's your response, your action, your routine. You satisfy your craving to feel relieved. That is your reward. Checking social media becomes associated with feeling stalled at work. That habit is now formed. Remember classical conditioning? You remove stimulus, the original stimulus, and stimulus 2 will elicit the same response you wanted. That's essential what just happened here. So all new habits proceed through these 4 stages in the same order. The cue, the craving, the routine, and the reward. In the next lesson, we will discuss how to identify the cue. I'll see you in the next lesson.